everybody to another episode of Drena Finds Out. This week I have the honor and privilege to be able to speak with Ms. Judy Lombard-Barkum with the Gulf Coast Kwanzaa Coalition. Correct?
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Thank you for taking time out to talk to me.
No problem.
So this time of year, I have always, since I've been a little girl, I always heard about the Kwanzaa celebration and everything, but I never really knew much about it. I knew that it was something that was that you were a part of and listening to the radio and hearing about it, but so many people I feel like don't actually know the history of it.
Okay.
So can you explain to the viewers, like break down the history of it? And you have some people who feel like because they're Christian they can't celebrate Kwanzaa and Christmas, that they may cancel each other out. So if you can talk about that a little bit for me.
Okay, and I think it's one of the most important things. Here on the Gulf Coast, this is actually our 28th year of doing Kwanzaa as the Gulf Coast Kwanzaa Coalition. And that was one of the reasons that we started it. Father Charles Andrus was our pastor at St. Teresa's at the time, and he kept saying, we have to do something to infuse a pride in our culture. And one of the ways that he saw doing that was with Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa was founded in 1966, and so to get the full effect of what that means, you have to take your mind back to 1966. And for young people like yourself, to you that's ancient history. For me, it's not. It's my life. It's not ancient history. 1966, it was just about the time that desegregation was starting to take effect across the country here in America. So if you can imagine, there were no blacks at the water fountain. They were sitting on the back of the bus. We weren't allowed to go to school with whites. We weren't allowed to eat in restaurants. All of that was our reality. And one of the concerns of Dr. Karenga, who founded Kwanzaa, he is an African-American professor studying African-American culture. And one of his concerns was that as we began to assimilate into the culture of America, we might lose some of the valuable principles that had been handed down to us from the ancestors since the Middle Passage. And so he wanted to do something so that we would always have a celebration to remind us of who we were, where we came from, and on whose shoulders we stand. It was never intended to be any kind of religious celebration. It has nothing to do with Christmas. It is not the Black Christmas. It has nothing to do with that. And so people say, well, why is it at Christmas time? Well, it's not at Christmas time. It begins the day after Christmas and runs through January 1st. It's at the end of the year. And if you think about what we do at the end of every year, is we begin to remember, reflect, and reassess our lives. That was the point. Kwanzaa in Swahili means first fruits. It's looking at the fruits of our labor. It's looking at our lives and saying, what did I produce? Did I do well? What can I work on to do better for next year? And that's what Kwanzaa is. It's a time for us to remember, to reassess, reevaluate our lives, and then see what we can do in the future to be better people and leave the world as a better place.
So I know that they have different principles.
Yes, yes, and so and for any celebration you have, if you think about Christmas, you're going to think about a Christmas tree. If you think about Easter, you're going to think about an Easter egg. Every celebration is going to have some kind of symbol. If it's Valentine's, you're going to think of a heart. And so there are symbols that go, and all of the symbols have a point. And so if we look at the symbols that we have here, first we have the bandera, which is the, and for us we used it as the covering for our enthronement. A lot of times at the Kwanzaa celebration, you'll see it as a flag, because it's the flag, the black, first used by Marcus Garvey, with the colors representing black for the people, our people, the green for the motherland of Africa, and the red for the blood that was shed by our people in the Middle Passage coming here. And so we have that. This mat is called a makia. The mat represents our ancestors. And so everything we do, and I think we have to remind ourselves of this every day. You're standing on somebody's shoulders. You did not just come out of thin air and appear. There's somebody who came before you, and so to always remember the ancestors. This is our unity cup because we drink from the same cup of libation. We have the same experiences as we look back on our lives, and so this represents our unity cup, our libation statement. The fruit, as we said, Kwanzaa means first fruit. It reminds us of the fruit of our labor. If we're students and it's, what kind of work did I do in school? How hard did I work? If we're workers, if we're community workers, what did I put forth in order to harvest a good fruit? We have the corn, and the corn represents the children. So if I was celebrating Kwanzaa at home, I had 3 children, so I had 3 ears of corn. Corn is not only a nutrient, something we eat for nutrition, but it's also a seed. And our children are our seeds. They are our future. They represent, we're going to be their ancestors at some point. And so that representing that, this goes on. We are on a continuum. We are all connected. At no point are we disconnected from those ancestors. Everything is connected all the way to our children. And then the candles, the Nugo represents the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. And that's the heart of what Kwanzaa is all about. Those are the principles that Dr. Karina was trying to make sure we never forget those. And so we have 7 candles. The one in the middle is the black candle. It represents the first principle of Kwanzaa, which is unity, umoja, or unity, that we stand together. My mom used to say all the time, in many ways, we were better off before integration because if we had nothing else, we had unity. We work as one, and anyone with any common sense knows that there's no more power, more strength in unity. And so that's the first principle. And so on the first night of Kwanzaa, we would light that black candle because that's our first celebration. And during Kwanzaa, it's about storytelling. The older members of our family telling the stories, passing down the stories of the ancestors. And if the day is unity, then let's talk about what unity means. What did it mean then, and what does it mean today? The second principle would be Kuwajapalika, which means self-determination. I name myself. I define myself. No one can name me, no one can define me and decide who I am and what I am. No matter what other people say about me, the only one who can define me is me. And for our people to hold on to that no matter what we hear about ourselves, to understand that we are the ones to define ourselves. That's powerful, and powerful to teach to our children. And then it's Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility, that we have a responsibility to work together on the issues in our community. Whatever those issues might be, to get together and work on them collectively in order to solve the issues. The next one is Ujama, which is using our financial influence for Black businesses, encouraging Black businesses, and supporting Black businesses. I think about 1966 when Dr. Karinga was founding this, and you will hear people, talk to people. It's a good thing to do during Kwanzaa. Talk to some of the older people and understand. At one time, North Gulfport owned their own water company. Every community that you can think of, whether it's Surrey City, Magnolia Grove, Biloxi, everybody had their own, and so there were Black businesses everywhere. Main Street had, I want to say, 2 movie theaters, a bakery, a shoe store, name it. All of that was right in the Black community, and we supported each other, so the dollar was constantly turning over in our community. So going back to that idea of supporting Black businesses with Ujama. And then comes Nia, purpose, to understand that you have a purpose in this whole, in this connection with the ancestors, with our children, with the entire community. You're not here willy-nilly. There's a purpose for your life. And to be able to tap into what that purpose is and use it for the collective of the whole community. And then Kuumba, which is creativity. Everything that is to be invented hasn't yet been invented. To be able to use our creativity, when we think in terms of all of the things that African Americans have created, have invented in this country, and think about how much more we can do so that we leave this place a better place than what we found it. That's the idea of creativity. And then last is Imani, faith. Not just faith in God, but faith in each other, faith in our children, faith in our future, so that we're passing that faith on to our children so that they have a belief in themselves and a belief in the power of us. I think for us today, if we think about the principles of Kwanzaa, unity, collective work and responsibility, faith, and think about November's election, you see that those principles all came into play in order for us to accomplish the things we accomplished during that election. That's the whole idea of Kwanzaa, is for us to just take this time at the very end of the year, look at our lives. What are we doing? What could I do better? How do I leave this place a better place? And how do I bring my children and my community along with us?
So I know that with Juneteenth, it's become more, I don't want to say commercialized, but more people are talking about it from all different walks of life.
Right.
Do you think that that will have an effect on Kwanzaa? I know it's hard because everybody's social distancing, but do you think that more people, the more people know about it, I feel like more people will be interested. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, and I think that as we become more culturally aware, then yes, we embrace those things of the culture. Most people did not even understand what Juneteenth was all about. And now to understand that, and I think if we look at what was going on in our country last June, around time for Juneteenth, with the George Floyd and all of the things that was going on, there was an awakening that was saying, wait a minute, what's happening? And I think that same call to wake up and to understand who we are and whose we are and what power we have inside of us, it brings us to a point where we can embrace Kwanzaa and not see it as a foreign thing, but understand that it's something to help empower ourselves.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much, not only for talking to me about this, but I just have to let you know, so you were like my first time, like to me, meeting a celebrity.
Oh,
in my eyes. No, I'm serious. Because like you always inspire me. I would hear you on the radio every morning, and then I went to the Boys and Girls Club where I met my dear friend Devoria Anderson, and they had girls' night, and you came and you spoke to us, and I was like, wow, like this is like, I never thought I would meet somebody like this. Like she was on the radio. So you've always been such an inspiration to me, like all throughout my life. So I really appreciate you for that.
Well, I'm honored to just, I always say I'm just me, and I think that, and I really do mean this, I think if we just learn how to be ourselves at all times, I always tell people when they say I'm a celebrity, I'm like, I still clean my own toilet. Come on, guys. Celebrities don't clean their own toilet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me.
You're quite welcome.
And I will find out how people can learn about this, because I know y'all are going to do it online this year.
We are. We're, because of COVID, and I know Kwanzaa. I can answer all your questions about Kwanzaa. The young people that are on the coalition, Mike Daniels, Terry Tyler, Corey Lombard, those Ashley Whitfield, all those young people, now they just tell me what to do because I do not understand technology. But my understanding is this, is that we are going to film everything, the history, all the information and how you can celebrate Kwanzaa at home, and it'll be on our Facebook page. And so people can go there each night, look and see what is the principle of the day and how could I celebrate it. And so they can do that at home. And if you don't have all the stuff, don't feel like, well, we can't do it because I don't have those candles and I don't have this and I don't have that. Take the time to just sit down with your family and let's talk about what's going on in the world. Have the conversation. Tori and I talked about this earlier. Have the conversation with your children about what's happening what did our ancestors do? Because they survived a whole lot worse than what we're going through right now, if you can imagine. And what did they do, and what can we learn from what they did in order to pull through all of this? Take the time to do it, and you will, I promise you will not regret it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.